Hello everyone and welcome to my channel MoreToChess. In this video I am going to cover the game between Constantin and Giri. It's today's best game and you can also call it the wildest of all rounds so far. So here Constantin playing with white and Anish with black. Constantin starts with the move c4, Giri played e5, knight to c3. It is known as English opening, but due to the Sicilian like structure it is also known as reverse Sicilian. Black played knight to f6, now knight to f3, attacking e5, knight to c6, defending, and it is known as 4 knights variation as you can see. Now e3, bishop to b4, this is all standard opening moves. Now queen to c2, preventing any structure damage, bishop takes, queen takes, now attacking the e5 pawn twice, so queen e7, defending, d4 and knight e4, attacking the queen. Here queen cannot go to the usual c2 square because of the knight b4 move, gaining another tempo. So queen to d3, attacking the knight. Now e takes d4 and knight takes d4. Here you cannot play e takes d4 because of knight g3 discovery, and black will take the rook and also the game. So knight cross d4 and now knight to c5, attacking the queen. Queen to d1, knight takes d4 and queen takes d4. As we know that this is not possible, so queen takes d4 and here black castles. Now bishop to e2 and white is also ready to castle, and b6, opening the bishop from this diagonal, targeting the g2 pawn and also some attacking ideas in future. White castles, now bishop to b7. Black's pieces here are comparatively better placed than that of white as the c1 bishop is not yet developed. So white played f3, countering this diagonal and also ready to develop his dark square bishop. Now a5, preventing any b4, bishop to d2 with bishop c3, attacking this g7 pawn. Now f5 with the idea of f4 and also guarding g7 for future attacks. Now rook to a d1, developing the last piece and putting indirect pressure on this d7 pawn. So d6, b3, rook a to e8, black also developed his last piece. Now rook f2, protecting the bishop, as after f4 white cannot take because the bishop is hanging. So rook to f6 and Giri lifts the rook in order for some attacking chances with g6 and also e6, putting pressure on this e3 pawn. So bishop to d3 with the idea of putting this bishop on b1 in future and with some attacking chances if possible. So queen to f7 with the idea of playing queen to h5, rook h6, attacking h2. Now rook to e2. Black played queen to h5 with the idea of playing rook to h6 and attacking the h2 pawn with a dangerous attack. And now bishop to e4. It's a nice move but loses all the advantage and initiative black has, as instead of bishop e4, if black played rook to h6 threatening to take on a2, then bishop to g3 is almost forced, and then knight to e4, attacking the bishop. So white have to take the knight, and after f cross e4, attacking the bishop and also the rook, and both cannot be saved. So black is better here. But instead black played bishop to e4 with the same idea, if you take the bishop then take the pawn and you cannot protect both the pieces. So bishop to b1 and now rook to g6. Black is trying to go all out. Now bishop to g3, adding the bishop to the defense. Bishop takes b1, rook takes b1 and knight e4, again with the same thematic combination, so you cannot take the knight here also. Now rook b to e1, threatening to take the knight because this rook is no longer unprotected. Now knight takes g3 and queen to d5 check. King to h8, h cross g3, rook cross g3 and now e4. Here the most accurate move is queen to c6 because it attacks the rook and also the pawn and also protecting f3. So it is better protecting and also counter attacking. But instead he played e4, which is also fine. Now queen cross f3. This move allows white to forcefully equalize the position, as after the move queen f7 attacking the rook, now rook g8, and e cross f5, opening up the e file for the rooks, which is very dangerous for black in future. Now queen to c6, defending c7 while putting the pressure on g2. Now rook to f2, freeing up this rook and protecting g2, and queen to c5, a blunder by Anish Giri. He overlooked white's attacking chances. Instead of queen c5, a4 is just fine, because after rook to e7, a takes b3, white have to take, otherwise the pawn will be queen. So a takes b3, and now queen to a8, f6, rook g6, f takes, rook takes, queen f6, queen c6, and black is fine. But after queen c5, rook to e7, threatening to play f6 in the next move, and now there is no way to stop that pawn, so white is just completely dominating the position. Now queen to d4, again a blunder by Giri, and now it's mate in 11. You can pause the video till you find the mate in 11 move. Now rook to e8 is the best move here. Rook cross g2 check, played black. The rook is pinned, so you cannot take with the rook. King takes g2, queen g4 check, king h2, queen h4 check, and here white played king to g2. It is also a good move, but if you want to mate the king, then the best move is king to g1, as after king to g1, and here black have 3 checks, queen g5, queen g4, and queen to g3. Let's see one by one. First queen g5 check, now king to f1, queen c1 check, king g2, queen to g5 check, and king to h3. Now there is no check, as you can see. So now white is winning here. Instead of queen g5, let's see queen g4 check, then rook to g2 attacking the queen, queen c1 check, and king to h2. Now there is no more checks for black. So now let's see third option here, queen to g3 check, now rook to g2, and again black is running out of checks. So that's why white is better here, but instead white played king to g2, now queen g4 check, and here white played king to f1. Now there is no mate, still white have huge advantage. Black played queen to h3, now king to e1, queen c3 check, king to d2, and Giri resigned here, because after queen c1 check, white simply played king to e2, and again there are no more checks. And here instead of queen c1 check, if black played queen to g3 check, then king to d1, queen f3 check, now king to c1, queen c3 check, king b1, and again there are no more checks left. If you take the rook, then white is threatening checkmate on g8. So this is a very wild game. Anish have the advantage, but somewhere he mixed up and underestimated white's counter-attacking chances. So that's it. If you enjoyed the game, do like and subscribe, and bye.